All right, guys. We're live. Obviously, we're here. I'm excited about this. It's the attack of the Stevens tonight. We got Stephen Mask and Stephen Boring, both sick weekers. This will kind of cap our sick week content here. Hang on. Oh man, I can't wait. I'm going to drink some beers, and then I'm going to put leaf springs in the old truck, which I'm excited about, so I can keep my tune schedule for next week so I can beat Jonathan Stonecipher at our Dragon Drive event on April 8th at Mocan in Joplin, Missouri. So here's the deal. Like I was saying, this kind of will cap our sick week content as far as live streaming and stuff like that every week, which we've been covering. We've had a lot of those participants on. If you want to watch that, go back and look at that stuff. I have been taking these conversations and chopping them up into the funny bits. And usually I know with these guys, probably going to end up with 3 or 4 different opportunities to chop up for sure. And then putting those out as what we call quick cuts. And then I'm also doing a new segment called Quick 16, which is 16 questions, 16 minutes. That allows me to do that a lot more during the week because I can catch somebody, during a lunch break or right after work before my family gets home, 20, 25 minutes worth of questions. For those guys, a conversation for me with them on the phone, 16 minutes for you guys on your end. And then I'll be turning those into a podcast. So we are going next level with dragondrive.com. Tons of new info coming out. If you watched the daily dose of Dragon Drive this morning, it's about 8.5 minutes of I was blowing through stuff. So I'm going to start doing that a lot more in the early mornings after I drop the kids off at school, come back home, run out to the podcast room, knock that out. I have 6 more boxes of foam ordered for the room. So we should have a lot better sound deadening coming in the next 2 weeks or something like that. So, all right, here's how it works. I'm bringing these guys in. We're going to have some fun and we're going to talk about all things Dragon Drive. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, and definitely tell people where they can find you on social media while I start drinking this beer.
Is it my turn?
Yeah,
you're older.
Yeah, we're going you first, and then
I'm the guy with the big. I can point to that, and it still shows up. The big wagon. I'm on Facebook, Stephen Stephen Mask MASK. Most anybody, all these influencers, Scott Brown, all those guys, they're already on my Facebook page, so they know where to find me. I've been doing Dragon Drive for 4 years now. 2019 was my first year. Tried to get in 2018, didn't quite make it. Didn't realize that I could probably just show up and would have been able to get in, but yeah, it is what it is. May 2019, 2020 was a shit show, and 2021 went after it, and now we broke a bunch of shit. So
yeah, it's I'm excited for you to show everybody, because if they're not friends with you on Facebook, they didn't see the carnage of the third member you have there. It's pretty cool, man. So we're definitely going.
Stephen and I both have a bunch of carnage with our rear ends.
It's the B-body thing to do, apparently.
Yeah. That's awesome. Stephen, tell us where they can find you and introduce yourself and all that stuff.
Yeah, my name's Stephen Boring. I'm actually from Jacksonville, Florida, so I'm a little bit north of him. I'm on Facebook as Stephen Boring, the way it's spelled, and then it's SS Steve 904 is my YouTube, but I haven't really started on it too much, and it's also my Facebook. But I drive the 4-door box Chevy, as they call it. It's a 1980 Caprice. It's fun, small block, 4L60, so it's not quite that guy's power level, but I still break shit the same. So where I lack in the ET, I make up in the hood rat shit. So
I think that's really where I came across your stuff, was because, dude, you're having so much fun in that car all the time.
100%. Yeah, I've done. I mean, I got the car 13 years ago. My aunt actually bought it brand new in 80. I got it in high school. When I got it, it was a smog-infested 305, and I've learned automobiles on it. I actually just turned 31 the other day, and I've had that car for 13 years. So every mistake I've made with that car, and every cool thing I've done. I've done daily driver, of course, because it was my daily for so long. I've done street racing, which is my main thing. I've done dirt track events with it as like a car show where you get to enter the dirt track. I actually won that, got a trophy and money and everything. And then I've done plenty of sliding in the rain, and now I've done a drag and drive. Oh, and I've done the Freedom Factory spectator drags quite a few times too. So
Nice.
it's I call it my sports utility vehicle.
That's right, dude. And the one thing about, so when we built the cart, like it was either a Caprice or a Crown Vic, because I was like, I need a full frame. You
Yeah.
have to have a full frame to beat on stuff, because the unibody stuff just can't handle the
It's
jumps.
scary. I don't know how people go that fast on this unibody shit. I guess I've been in full frame my whole life to where I ain't about that life. I need a big casket, not a small one.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's talk about the builds first, and then kind of what you guys have done to them and stuff like that, and then we'll work into. We definitely want to talk about breakage, because if both of you guys are tearing up rear axles, but you both have different rear axles, so that's what's interesting to me.
All right, prehistoric Steve can go first.
Prehistoric Steve. So when I mean, I don't know. When I started to build this car, I bought this car 10 years ago. It was actually it started out as another iteration of a 92 wagon that was the purple with wood grain, that was like dirt cheap on the side of the road, and I bought it, and my plan was to gut it. And that was whenever I had first seen Steve Morris had the Boostmaster, and he was running that as a Pro Charge big block. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to build a wagon. I'm going to gut it. And I rolled it up in the driveway, and like 3 days later, my wife sends me a text message with this car in an ad an hour north of here in Neptune Beach. And she's like, hey, I like this one a lot better. So we went to look at it, and we bought this one, and it was like, it's mint. It was immaculate. Drove it around for like 2.5, 3 years. I bought like Beltec springs for it and some shocks and stuff, dropped it a little bit, but that's it. That's all we did to it. Had a blast with it. My daughter was 2 or 3 at that point in time. My son was like 1. I'd put him in the history seat in the back, and we'd go out in the old abandoned mall parking lot and go do donuts and giggle until we threw up. Just really had a good time with the car. And then I decided when I wanted to build it, I was going to do a stick car. And I know we talked about this in the last video, but I wanted to do a stick shift car. So I did it was an LS2 donor out of a GTO. So it was a LS2 bone stock with a T6060. And I was running that on a fast computer. And I put the 3-pedal kit in the car. We took it out and ran it. And my son and I took a drive out to Palatka, which is about 45 minutes west of St. Augustine, where I'm at. We made it out to Palatka, and on the way back at a light, I went to stomp on it and lost first gear. And then we were leaving in second. And by the time we got home, I was shifting from second-ish to 5th gear. So the transmission was toast. Bought a T56 for the car. Knew the rear end wasn't going to last long, but I figured it'd last a little while. Literally put the T56 in the car with the drive shaft in it, and broke the rear end backing it out of the driveway. So then I put a 9-inch. So I went and put a full built 9-inch in it. That was another story in and of itself, because the B-body wagons are wider than the B-body, like the Caprices. So that was
like the hard way too.
I was working with Greg Moser, and I'm like, well, the measurements, because he had a B-body jig set up, and I'm like, yeah, no, my measurements are different. He's like, how are they different? And so we started going through everything, and we realized that the wagons, from basically the transmission cross member back, everything is completely different. So ended up sending the whole rear end up to Moser to get everything set up correctly, put the car back together. And we've been running a 9-inch ever since. But with that, when the turbo went on the car, and then we really started doing some tuning with the Haltech computer, that's whenever we started getting into some issues. And we've now gone through, well, this is after stick week, this is center section number 3. So
like, do you think it's it can't be the length of the car. It can't be, it can't be the weight. That car probably isn't, it's probably 4,500 pounds, right?
4,760 pounds with me in it. Yeah. That's the lightest I had it making whenever I came across the scales with like 4 gallons of fuel in it. And that's with a lithium battery. That's with 27 pounds of wire taken out of it, and the underlayment under the carpet's gone. Other than that, the interior is all in the car. But
yeah, I mean, that's crazy. It's going to be interesting to see what he says about this this new setup. Like, why are you breaking stuff? Why are you tearing stuff up? And we're going to show. I want you to show that third member here in a minute, because the pinion gear, dude, it's pretty eat up.
Less teeth than an Alabama fan is what I say.
That's right. That's right. And that's what happened to you on Sick Week, right? Like, you tore some teeth off your ring gear or something.
I broke mine as well. Yeah, I've got an 8.5 inch 31 spline or 30 spline out of a 96 Impala, but it's a Yukon ring and pinion, and it may or may not have been missing a tooth for years, but I did one too many fourth gear 4,000 RPM burnouts, and I think what happened was something probably flung up in there, and it chipped some teeth off, because we got to Gainesville and I made my first hit and it started going left in the burnout, and I've never had to do that before. And then when I turned off the track, it like popped real hard. I was like, oh shit, I know what this is. Cause I used to have 7.5. So I used to break 7.5 rear ends in it on the regular. So I knew the feeling, but I didn't know what to do at the time. Cause I was like, oh shit, like I still got a couple days to go. So yeah, it turned into a fiasco, but we made it. I went another 700 miles on that ring gear after doing some battling. We turned in the slip because I only went a second slower because I missed second gear because my ratchet shifter broke too. So I missed second gear in an automatic because it's a manual valve body. And I went a second slower, but I'm like, fuck this. I'm turning the slip in because I was going to finish. So I went to the pits, drained the thing, pulled all the teeth pieces out, filled it back up with fluid, and then went to Rollins. And we were going to rebuild the rear end right there because they had all the stuff to do it. But the center pin welded itself in.
When you got done with that story, I was going to see if someone would tag Nico, but he's already in here.
Yeah, and then when we tried to rebuild it, I was going to pay what it had to pay because I don't build rear ends. I was like, whatever, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And ironically, I had a friend in Jacksonville who has access to planes. He goes, "Hey, I'm only like a 20-minute flight from you." I'm like, "Flight?" He goes, "Yeah, dude, I can fly into Gainesville. I can bring you a ring and pinion." I'm like, "How fucking awesome would it be to get a care package dropped onto the track for a 15-second car to finish the trip?" He goes, "That's only slightly illegal, but fuck it, let's do it." I was like,
right.
Well, let me see if Rollins has it. And we tried to fix it, and the pin wouldn't come out. So I said, screw it, put new fluid in it again, and babied it the rest of the trip, which I didn't baby it. So, but I made it home. So yeah, because I feel fine, just like him.
We kept going.
Both drove down in the cars.
Say that again, Steve.
Me and him. Oh, that guy. No. Yeah. This is going to get confusing.
Senior Steve. That's kind of the same thing we did once we realized that we had a bunch of stripper glitter in the rear end. After we make the pass, we drain it, and we were putting like whatever we could find at truck stops, the heaviest weight oil we could find to try and keep it somewhat quiet. I had no idea how bad this rear end really was. I wasn't getting any chunks of metal out of it, but now I realize with the way that they built the bung in the bottom of the rear end, that all of the chunks settle out around, but the glitter comes up and through the drain.
The problem with the chunks is if you spin your RPMs high enough, the chunks go up in the air, and then they get in between spider gears, and that's what happened to mine. So.
That's funny. Yeah. So I'll have a welded diff and 12 bolt in the old truck. And the one time I let the wife drive it, the plate that goes in between the spider gears came apart and wedged itself in the ring and pinion. And so the dudes that pushed her out of the road rolled it backwards and it fell out. Well, I'm coming home and I'm like matting this thing. I'm like, it's fine. Both tires are spinning. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what she broke. And I get home and the chunk just like, it was like perfect square just fell out. I was like, oh my God, that could have been so bad.
Dude, I had a 7.5 break one time on me, and the I don't know if the cross pin came out or what, but the spider gears broke, and when it did, it locked up the rear wheels, and the car at the time had 315s in the trunk, and the ash slapped the ground so hard there's a drag mark on my gas tank, and I didn't know at the time. I was like 17. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Of course, I was doing burnouts that same day, so also
nice.
Might have been what happened.
That's awesome. So you said earlier, manual valve body, 4L60. Is it just a 350 in it now?
So it's a Mark Hedrick motor. He did it. He's in Jacksonville. It's a roundy round motor that I bought from him. So it's got just flat top Wiscos. It's got scat rods and a stock GM Forge crank on a stock GM block, and then I put a hydraulic roller cam in it. It's like 560 lift or something. It's not crazy. It's still got 3/8 rockers and Harlan shop roller rockers and everything. It's got Dark Pro 1 heads, a dual plane intake, and Holley Sniper EFI. And then I've got the 4L60 because it was my daily for so long. And supposedly there was supposed to be a trophy for finishing sick week with a 4L60. I'm still waiting on that to come in the mail, but it's fun. I mean, it put down 340 wheel the night before sick week, and that was with a fucked up transmission and without lockup working. So it probably makes 400 crank, which I'm okay with because it's just enough to beat the shit out of and go get in it 6 months later and then still beat the shit out of it.
Yeah, so. and it lives. That's what's great about, that kind of power level. 400 is really a fun power level. Yeah. That's what people, it does burnouts as long as you want to. It hooks. It runs well. It's fun on the street. It does crazy donuts, Yeah.
Well, and it's got the 456s in the rear end too. So, I mean, even with the 456s, with the 4L60 EUs ratio and the 28, I was going 80 miles an hour at 3,000 RPM. So it was like perfect. And my transmission temps were super low because of lockup. I was actually getting super sweet fuel mileage because the tune that was on it and everything. So it was fun. I mean, I had somebody laptop tune it right before we left, which he didn't do a bad job. We just didn't finish it. And I've been on the self-tuning, the Holley self-tuner for the last 4 years. And I've gone fucking 790s on the street, according to my draggy. The whole week I went a second slower than I normally do, which sucked. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? It's not really competitive anyway, so I'm just going to try and finish for the week. I didn't give a shit.
Yep. Yeah, you got it. And it's just, man, and this is your first one, right? So, like,
yeah, this is my first because I've always, it's funny. I just had a memory on Facebook from 9 years ago where it was a picture of a third gen Camaro doing drag week, like one of the first, I think it was the first drag week, and I posted one day, like, I'm going to do this, and it popped up the other day, and I was like, see, hindsight, I made it.
Yeah, but I told you I was going to.
Yeah, and I wasn't even, I had no intentions of going to a drag week for many years because I actually just did a trip on my bike, my motorcycle. I went from Jacksonville, Florida to Los Angeles, so I just did a huge trip back in May. So when this popped up, it was like, damn, that's a really sweet-ass trip. Maybe I should go for it. And apparently I'm one of the few people that know how to use autofill, and I signed up, got approved. I'm like, oh, fuck, I guess I got to, get ready now. And I took a completely perfectly running good car and decided to put a floor pan in it, put all new wiring in it, rebuild the tranny, reseal the motor. I definitely jumped in over my head, but I figured might as well do it all now. That way, if I do have a problem, I can diagnose it on the road a lot simpler than my rat's nest of wiring.
Well, I was going to say, you're not worried about the 4 stereo systems you put in and wires spliced back into themselves. It just makes a loop.
Yep. Yeah, it came out good. I'm happy with it. And what's crazy is I had a trailer full of, I run a parts store. I'm a manager at O'Reilly's. I literally had a trailer full of everything that could have gone wrong. Like every pump on the engine, valve train parts. Like I almost brought an extra transmission because it was 4L60. The only thing I used was the gear oil and the RTV, out of my whole trailer. But I know if I wouldn't have brought the trailer, for one, I wouldn't have had sweet trailer burnouts, but two, I would have needed everything in it. So
that's exactly right. It's funny because Craig Douglas did the first quick 16 yesterday, and same thing with him. He's like, I didn't bring any tools. He's like, I ended up spending $400 on tools and jack and everything.
Yeah, I may or may not have returned about $1,000 worth of parts when I got back to O'Reilly's, but hey, they were still new, so fuck it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
it's good.
Look at the job. Yeah, right. That between O'Reilly's and Amazon, I did pretty good.
So I just now I have a box. I have a box back there with nothing but all the spare sensors and everything, senders for the car. Extra coil packs, a set of spark plugs, basically one of everything for the car. And now I leave it in the box because I know it's in there. I took an inventory. I have it laid up. I've kind of learned over the years that that's the thing is if you make a list of it, put it in a Ziploc bag and stick it in the top of the box. So then it's like, I know where it is and what's going on.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Don't bring your logic over here, bud.
Yeah, right.
We just keep throwing stuff on the trailer. I'm like, that doesn't weigh very much. That can go on the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually came, we came with 3 sets of tires on our trailer. We had our street tires, then we had our drag radials in the trunk, and then I had burnout tires on the trailer. So I was more than prepared.
That's funny.
And that car sounds ridiculous. It's Stephan and Stephen and I met each other. Actually, I think it was I had put a post up on Facebook about running the wagon. Like I had woke her back up and went to go do a shakedown run up US 1, and I had posted it on the Sick Week Facebook page. And Steve was like, "Hey, like, are you on US 1 like in Jacksonville?" And I was like, "Well, St. Augustine, but yeah, close enough." And he's like, "Man, I'm like 20 minutes north of you." So one night, my son and I jumped in the car to go. We wanted to go up and get E85, which is at a gate all the way up north in Ponte Vedra. So we ran up there to go fill the car up with E85 because I wanted to see how it was going to run. And then we went by Stephen's shop, and that was about the time that he was trying to finish up his wiring on it. And I don't know, what were we at? Were we at like 2 or maybe 3 weeks before Sick Week? And I was like,
it was 2 weeks, and I hadn't even driven the bitch yet. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was cool too because like we're probably 30 minutes away from each other. I had no idea who the fuck he was. Never seen his car before, and I mean, I'm a pretty big street racer here. Like we are at least big in the scene. I know a lot of people, and I saw him post, and I'm like, this motherfucker's in Florida. And then I was like, oh, this motherfucker's in St. Augustine. I'm like, he's got a Peabody. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, how the hell have I not seen this thing? And we wound up fucking shooting the shit, and it worked out pretty cool too. Because I mean, I only got him a sensor, but like just having someone on the trip is convenient. So
yeah, that's what was crazy. Like, there's nobody from my city or little area in Arkansas that went. Nobody. So I was like, okay, because my flight was canceled, obviously. And so I'm like, I got to figure out something. Well, the dude's 2 hours from me in Tulsa. We're luckily hauling our radials down, which I still have to go pick them up before our race in 23 days. And so I just was like, hey, can I ride with you guys? And dude, I'm telling you, drag and drive community is awesome, man.
Hell yeah. They're way sweet. Like in the street racing scene, like most of the people are cool, but like I've gone to a couple no prep backside events. I wound up getting in a big fight and dig or die, and wound up all over YouTube for that. And then fucking I've gone to plenty of like actual X275 races and like ducks type stuff. It's definitely a different environment because everyone's not out to like screw each other over, and it's not grudge racing. Like I do a lot of grudge race shit too, and like they're all cool, but like drag and drive is definitely the most like loyal to each other, and it's not so backstabbing. I mean, I'm sure there's some crybabies that don't like each other, but at the same time, it's like if they're broke down on the side of the road, then I'm sure they'll help them. Like, I mean, granted, I'd never met the dude, but like Kevin Smith from KSR, like I'm a pretty big fan of him because I've learned a lot watching his videos, and he just seems like a cool ass dude. I happened to be on a back road doing some hood rat shit on the way from where we were leaving, I think Orlando. All right, it was the night we were going to Old Town.
You were headed to Kissimmee from
yeah. Because we were headed to Old Town or whatever, and I see him on the side of the road, and I knew there was a rule of like thumbs up, thumbs down, but I was kind of weary on what the rules were as far. I didn't know that you were actually allowed to help each other on the side of the road. I thought it was just a matter of just make sure they're okay. I thought that was against the rules. So I pull over and come to find out it was him, and I'm like, oh shit, this is awesome. And he's recording a video and everything, and I'm like, all right, well, that fan is from O'Reilly, or at least we sell them at O'Reilly's. I was like, I can give you a ride to O'Reilly's. We can warranty that bitch out right now. He goes, well, I didn't buy it from O'Reilly's. I was like, that's okay. I got this.
You're like,
yeah. Good. I was like, I know people, so I just bought one under my account and then took it home with me and returned it when I got home. But like, and it was cool too because like I've got the Holly Pro Dash and I've got the little tiny sniper, and we're sitting there shooting the shit, and it's running good, but it's not the way I want it to run. He's watching. He goes, man, your idle really, or your timing's really low. I was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. He goes, I got a laptop. I was like, oh, dude, that'd be fucking awesome. I was like, but I don't want to touch it right now. I was like, once we get done with Sick Week, I am 100% coming back. He goes, yeah, man, bring it back. We'll throw it on the dyno. He goes, this is the least I can do. I'm like, fuck yes. I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, dude. So, that's one thing about, like, I would say the influencers that are on these type of events. Like, once you're away from all that stuff, they're just dudes, and that's what's cool.
Some of them. I mean, I had a couple not great experiences with some of the dudes that I thought would be really cool. I got to call them out, but they're definitely not as people friendly as you think. Now, I will say, like, all the Freedom Factory dudes, I've been to so many of their events, like, they are probably cooler in person than they are on the videos. Like, every time I've gone to the Freedom Factory, Josh and Cleus and James, all of them, they're all super cool. Like, they'll actually come up to you and shoot the shit and like talk to you about the car. And they'll let you go walk around their shop and look at stuff. And then like Kevin, like I said, he was super cool. I'm a huge roadkill fan, so meeting Freiberger and Finnegan was super cool too. Because like I've been watching them forever and kind of doing the same type of shit they do, but in Florida. So I was literally and I hated to be like a little fangirl, but I didn't care. I wanted to be Freiberger.
Yep.
I was, Finnegan. I was in the lanes on day one at Bradenton, and like I was the next guy to do a burnout, and Finnegan is like standing over to the left. I got my helmet on and everything, and I'm like, fuck, man, I really want that dude's autograph so I can put it on my little fucking hat. So I got a Make America Fast Again hat. I hold it up and a Sharpie up, and he's like 15 feet away. And he's like, fuck yeah. And he like runs over, rolls my window down. He's like, dude, this thing's fucking awesome. I'm like, hell yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, he's one of the neatest dudes. We've seen him at a 2.0 a couple times, and just literally living the life. I mean, yeah, he's having a ton of fun.
I don't know if I just messed up the audio. Does the audio sound terrible right now?
Nope, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's just mine.
Nice. Do we sound like shit to you? That's the question.
Yeah, you kind of sound like a robot all of a sudden. I don't know what happened.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's my question.
That's what he's worried about.
Right?
I know I do. I finally got my haircut today, and the lady said it had been 10 weeks. That's a little long. I was trying to decide if I wanted to do a mullet or not.
I'm scared the fact that your haircut lady knows that it was 10 weeks since you've been in there. That's a little more scary to me than the fact that you know that it's been 10 weeks since you got your haircut.
Well, she's the one that said it. It worried
from?
Me too. North Bentonville, Northwest Arkansas.
Okay. We stayed on my California trip because we went up and then over. We stayed in Cabot, Arkansas.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. That's a cool town. It's just real laid back and small.
Oh, yeah.
We are, Northwest Arkansas. Fayetteville is University of Arkansas and all that kind of stuff. And then Bentonville, we have the home office of Walmart here in town. So it's it's a big deal here. Walmart's not a very big deal everywhere else, but it's a big deal here. A lot of folks work there.
Dollar General's. I'm from Georgia originally. Dollar General's in Georgia, and like there's a Dollar General everywhere, and like their warehouse is. It's kind of like going to the Jack Daniel's plant. Everyone in that town works at Jack Daniel's.
Yep,
that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, so let's stay on sick week for a minute. What I love this question. What went right during the week? Like what did you not have to touch? What did you like? What all went right? No, fuel, that way. You've
compared to drag week in 2019, fuel went right. So I ran the car with in 2019. I ran it with an external fuel pump. That was a whole story. I think we can go back to your original video that I was in and go through that whole process and what happened there. But I ran a dual pump system in the car, and this is the first time that I've run it on E85, which was actually a saving grace. I put an electronic wastegate on the car, and apparently nobody in the world knows how to tune those yet.
Since that day, I've seen so many people on the internet complaining about those things and what they do, and I'm like, hey, I know a guy that fucked one of those up too.
Yeah, but see, the first problem with the electronic, I'll say this: the problem is they send them out unlubricated, so you've got to take them apart and lubricate them before they go in the car.
Yeah, I totally took your information and acted like I knew what I was talking about and told someone that.
that was a huge difference. But on the fuel side, running the E85, when I had the ethanol in the car, I knew no matter what, because the turbo's fairly small on the car, I knew at least then I wasn't going to blow anything. Well, hopefully wouldn't blow anything up. Felt a lot more comfortable than I did running 93. So that went well for me. And then as we went through the week, it was funny. The same place that Stephan ran into Kevin Smith there in Kissimmee, I ran into Steve Morris, and we actually have a picture of both of the wagons, like nose to nose in front of the Ferris wheel.
Yes.
He is running the electronic wastegates on his car, and he's running a fuel tech computer. But I asked him, I said, hey man, whenever you guys set the tune up, I was like, what's different here? I was like, what's the big thing? And he said on the PID, he said, you're going to run the integral through the roof. And he was like, when you think it's too high, double it and then triple it. And I was like, all right. So I ran like integral numbers on the map at like I don't. It's at like 80 or something like that. Like something stupid. Everything else is like a fairly low number. Like we're in single digits. And after we did that, it's not perfect, but it's a whole lot better. And I made it through the week without any issues there. So definitely fuel compared to my past experiences. That's what went well for me.
Were you mixing the whole time, or were you straight E85?
No, I mixed the whole time now. But what was funny was we were trying to figure out how we could get so far without filling back up with 93. So like Gainesville, I left the hotel and we had like the gauge was saying we had like 4 gallons left in the tank. And so we were driving to the track, and I mean I had E85 in my trailer, but I have this really ghetto cage
The
over
bed
my
frame.
trailer, and then the tires are on top of it. It takes like 5 minutes to get into it to get fuel out, and I'm like, well, let's see if we can make it. We'll like run it out of fuel, and we go take this turn onto like I think it's Waldo Road, and it's this weird like you come up a hill and then you got to go around, and it was this really funky turn and jog. And as we're going up, and it's a stick shift car, so I'm letting out of the clutch, and the car like bogs down, and I'm looking down at the dash, and my fuel pressure's like 8, and then it comes around the corner and it picks back up again, and I'm like, ooh, it's like a half a mile to the track. And we're like rolling in, we get into the track, and as we're like rolling in, and Gainesville's huge, as we're like rolling into the pits, and I'm like, shit, I gotta stop, because I'm watching now the fuel pressure's like doing this dip thing as we're rolling on flat land, and we literally like pull into a pit and the car dies. So we were mixing, but we were trying to run out of as much 93 as we could before we put the E85 in.
That's awesome.
What size tank is in yours?
23 gallon. I can put like 22 gallons in it.
Yeah, mine's a 23 as well. So I wasn't sure if the wagons were the same or not. That's another thing too. A lot of people think because when you think of a 4-door, generally, at least in racing, it's Fairmonts, which Fairmonts don't count. The motherfuckers don't weigh shit. Like my car, for instance, with a fiberglass hood, carpet, full interior minus AC shit, and with GTO leather seats and other dumb shit I got in the car. I'm at like 4,100 pounds with me in it. The Fairmonts, yeah, dude. The Fairmonts I think they're in like the 38s, like with a person in them. Because I've raced a bunch of Fairmonts too. Because they're like, oh, it's a 4-door. I'm like, nah, bitch, that's a long ass Mustang. You
That's right. That's a Mustang with like 8 more inches. Yeah,
yeah. And then like with a 23 gallon tank, like I can go distance. Like I'm not trying to put no 5-gallon fuel cell in that bitch. Because for one, I just put a gas gauge in this thing for sick week, and I couldn't get the Holly gauge to work because it was like I turned the headlights on and I'd have like 3/4 of a tank. I turn them off, I have half a tank. I'm like, okay, well, either I just invented some super fucking sweet thing I'm going to get rich off of, or this shit ain't right. So I wound up getting a little analog gauge and putting it in my AC vent, and I got it to work. But where I think we were on our way to the Don Garlits, and we're on the interstate, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't run out of gas yet. Let's run this bitch out of gas. Let's see how far I'll go, because I had 5 gallons on the front of the trailer anyway, and I think we wound up doing 210 miles before we actually ran out. I went 210 miles that day before we ran out. But when it ran out, the damn the tank I have is a 1990 Caprice, which is a TBI motor, and it's got a small baffle. But I did some ghetto rigging with the sending unit, and I just hose clamped it to it. Well, the float gets to 1/4 of a tank, and it sits on the baffle. Well, I found this out after the fact, at least. So I'm like, oh man, I've got a 1/4 tank. We're good. And then like, I think I was next to one of the T-buckets or something, and like his shit was loud as hell. And I've got electric cutouts. So I opened up the cutouts. I dropped it in fucking second gear and did a flyby on him. He gives me a thumbs up. Then all of a sudden he goes, bup, 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 bup. I was like, oh shit. And sure enough, that motherfucker, right after I did the little flyby, I was like, oh, maybe it'll swoosh back to the front. Now that motherfucker ran out of gas.
There you go.
Yeah, it ran out of gas real quick. And then the other wagon, I call them Canadians, but they're from Kansas, but that's pretty much Canada to Floridians. But they were, Tyler, and then they pulled over like, what'd you do? I was like, oh, I just ran out of gas. He goes, don't you have a gauge? I'm like, yeah, but we wanted to see how far it was going to go. So now I know. So
you're like, what are you talking about? I still have a 1/4 tank right here.
Yeah, according to this, I got a 1/4 tank. So yeah, we burned the rest of our race V power out and did pretty good. So Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Stephen, over here making comments. Tom Stark, you're my heavyweight hero. That's right. Man, hey, how about that? So that car runs 10007 on
Who's that?
K5. Tom Stark
Okay.
in
What does he have?
the blue wagon.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah.
I knew a whole lot. I knew a whole bunch of street racers. I knew a bunch of grudge guys. I know a bunch of the rich motherfuckers in the X275 stuff. I didn't really know a whole lot of the drag and drive guys. So like, I already had 4,800 friends on my Facebook. Now I'm back to 5,000. I had to delete a bunch so I can add the whole new group of car people to
Right.
it, because I gained probably 50 friends, like between me and
Yep.
them adding each other from the
Yep.
event. And it's cool too, because like, I would like to do an actual drag week. I just got to get the car competitive. Like, I'm going to have to throw a turbo on or something, because it's fun doing C class, but at the same time, it's like you kind of want to sort of go fast, but I don't know.
Man,
Nope. 500 pounds. Nope.
Yeah.
No,
Dude,
all I want to do in this car is get a 10-second time slip, and then I'm going to figure out what I want to do to reconfigure. But
Dude, if I could run a 1050, I'd be tickled pink.
yeah. Listen, so my goal for the old truck is to finish, and we'll do 2 days of racing, 3 passes minimum. I just want a 12. Like, damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, the first time I took my car to a drag strip was Gainesville, and that was, I think, 10 years ago. I still got the time slip somewhere around here, framed in a little Ziploc bag. I ran a 1615, and that was with 273s. Like, I was fucking super stoked. Like, I didn't care. And the fastest I've got it down to is a 750 in the 8th mile, because that's all we have around here, which I'm happy with. Like, that's
Yep.
I'm super like psyched, especially to be what it is. But the problem is like, I go out and I race people now, and I talk a lot of shit, like in person and on the internet. And like, it's not like I won't back it up no matter how it is, but like, everybody runs fucking 9s now. Like, I got the Holly on my car 4 years ago, and I'm like, this bitch is faster. It ran like 4/10 faster in the 8th with the draggy. I'm gonna go fuck everybody up. I go out there, I got beat like 7 times. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But I'm racing cam nitrous C6s and turbo Fox bodies and all this shit. So it's not like there's a whole lot of B bodies on the street to race either. Like, most of the guys in my kind of box Chevy have 28s on it, on wheels, not 28s into tires. So, and I mean, I'm from Atlanta, so I'm a hood rat, at heart. But at the same time, like, they're either really fucking fast or really fucking slow, and there is no in the middle ones. But it's getting bigger, like not in the wagon world, but in the sedan world, the box Chevys are actually getting like pretty popular. So I'm fixing the rear end, and I'm taking mine up to Georgia, and I'm racing every single 10-second to 12-second box Chevy on the street that will race me for free, because the grudge racers, they only want to race for money. My fat ass wants to race for food. Like, if you win, I'll buy us Chick-fil-A. If I win, you're buying us something. Like, I'll race for food, but I ain't trying to bet $4 or $5 grand. I ain't got that money. If I had $4 or $5 grand, I wouldn't be running 12s.
That's right. That's right. I'd have a big turbo on this car already.
Yeah,
dude, just throw a bunch of spray at it. Throw a bunch of spray at it. You're set.
Yeah. I definitely want to maybe pull the 4L60 out, because when I did put nitrous on it once upon a time, with 100 jets, it was okay, but with 150 jets, it wouldn't go to third. I had to like pedal it to go to third. So I know the 60 is reaching its limits. If it was a lighter car, it'd probably last. But I mean, I've literally got a Hughes converter that Alan Pope did. I've got green clutches. I just put an HD2 kit in it only because it was free, and I've got a Corvette servo. Like, it's completely stock. So I mean, anytime it breaks, which it doesn't actually break often, like, I can't be mad at it, because I got like fucking $700 in that whole ass transmission. So I mean, the plan is go 80. I want to stay small block. I don't really want to go LS yet, at least unless I blow up the small block. Just because I know the formula for LSs is fast, but at the same time, like, right now I know small block. So if I could put like a 76 on that car and get it to like a low 11 or something, then I'd be happy with that. I mean, and it's not like it's not fast turbo small blocks either. So
right. That's what I was gonna say. Look at the heap of Randy Cane's. I mean, that truck runs like I think it's 5s in the 8th or something like that. So I mean,
ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of actual turbo small block guys down south, like Eric Kenward. He's got the wheelie wagon. It's a G body Malibu wagon, and he's got a conventional small block with a big turbo. He runs World Cup, and then obviously Billy the Kid, he's got a small block in it. He's got a fucking clusterfuck of wires and hoses and stuff on top of his engine that I don't want to try and understand, but that's because he's still carbureted and living in the dinosaur age. So luckily with the Sniper, that it's been done so much now that it's think it's got a 2-bar map sensor built in. I just got to get an external regulator and injectors, and it'll hold 24 pounds or whatever the hell it is. So, and that's easily to get me into the power level that I'm happy with as well. So
yeah, 100%. Well, what went wrong? Do we want to? Steve Senior, dude, we got to see this pinion. We got to see this pinion gear.
This thing got eight.
Hang on, I'm gonna put you.
That got ate up, and I don't know if you can on a video. I don't think it shows up real well, but it's scalloped. It scalloped the each tooth of the pinion.
that looks like a fucking dicer you make smoothies out of.
But
The
rear axle's completely twisted.
Let me grab your picture from earlier because man, it's awesome.
Yeah, you got that one on Facebook, but
yeah.
So the rear end, we found the weak link in a 4,800 pound car with a stick shift. It's
see, I'm about to put another 8.5 in mine. I don't even really want to go to a 9-inch yet.
I've got a 9-inch for sale. I think I'm going to go to a whatever's next.
You're going to go to an 8.8. You're going to go to a junkyard 8.8 after this. Hang on.
I've got oh hell.
Yeah, dude, that is insane.
And what's crazy is you made it home on that too.
Yeah,
because that's another thing. A lot of people trailered their shit down there. Granted, me and him I think we're only like 4 hours away from Bradenton, but we both drove our cars to Bradenton and back. So I think I wound up doing 1,500 miles because I didn't stay in hotels. I stayed in Airbnbs, which are kind of off the track. But and then granted, we're no Canadian. We didn't do fucking what they did, but it was still neat to see us leave the track on day 5 and had to put it back in street mode to get home.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's what we typically would build stuff for, would be to drive it to the track, drive it to these events, make the event, drive home. I just got to get my shit driving.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is with me and him, it's unless we broke on day 1, it was not convenient to have a trailer in Bradenton. If I would have broke anywhere else, I would have had say if I broke in Valdosta, I would have to go from Valdosta to Bradenton or, to home and go back and forth all over the fucking place. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take my chances because at least in Florida, I have enough friends to where if I do have to bitch out and, bow out because I'm scared to fix it or whatever it may be, then I can call someone. So, but there wasn't much that was going to happen that I wouldn't have done on the side of the road.
Say that again, Steve.
I said all 3 friends of mine were there.
Yeah. That's okay. You're grandfathered into my 5,000 friends, so you're good.
That's funny. So we're calling him Steve Senior, and now you're calling him a grandfather. That's rude, man.
Well, he's old as shit. Yeah, I only went out to eat with him the other day because he said I'd get a discount for him having an ARP card. I was actually, so the Freedom Factory event, the last spectator drags they were going to do, they actually used my car on the flyer, which I think it was just because the American flag, which was cool as shit. Not that I won. I've only made it to the second round every time. But I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go to the Freedom Factory and do the spectator drags with my car. I think this was the weekend before sick week. I was going to drive the 4 hours down there with my trailer, do the spectator drags, and then drive back home as my test. Well, the night before I was supposed to leave, I broke the transmission because I just being a dumbass. But it was time anyway. But anyway, I wound up taking.
It was already.
Yeah, well, hey, fuck it. But I wound up pulling the tranny out that night. I took the Escalade down to the Freedom Factory, my daily. It's all-wheel drive Escalade, and I wound up almost winning the truck spectator drags in the Escalade, and also almost spinning that bitch out. But that was my idea, was to test it and get it ready on that, because I still had yet to pull my trailer loaded and beat the shit out of it and see what tranny temps were like and engine temps and all that. So then once I got it finished, I asked him, I was like, hey, you want to go on you want to go get food somewhere? Because I'm about an hour from Daytona. He's probably 30 minutes from Daytona or whatever. So we wound up going way the hell past Daytona, which I hadn't done in a long time with that car. So I'm like, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. So I'm like, I'm behind him. We stop at Buc-ee's and I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, what's a good speed for you? Because I had a horrible driveline shake at the time because I had a dented drive shaft. He goes, I got a 6-speed. We can go 120 the whole fucking way. I don't care. I was like, let's try 80. I was like, I don't quite know how this is going to go, and I'm running out of money to fix it. So let's try that. So we did an hour and a half. I think it wound up being 300 miles for me total because I also like rode around, did some other stuff. And where were we? We're on the scenic loop, and I decided to do a gigantic burnout just to make sure that it did burnouts.
Yeah. It did a nice smoky one. It smelled good in my car.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it was cool too because we both had our wives with us, and neither one of us, our wives had ever met each other. Me and him had only met each other once, and like, she's like, "Why does he have a wagon?" I'm like, "Why the fuck do I have a 4-door?" I don't know, because that's what we wound up with. She goes, "I mean, it's fast, but it's not cool at all." I was like,
"What?
Kind of cool." Now, she's not a car person at all either. So, like, she doesn't see a wagon and think it's cool. Like, I've been trying to convince her to get, like, a 65 Chevelle wagon or a G-body wagon. She's like, no, not fucking happening. Like, I want to get her something, but she's like, I'm not getting a fucking wagon.
She's like, that's the minivan of 1965. I'm not driving that thing.
Well, since you know, I like G-Series vans, too, like old chopper vans. She hates them. And I had an all-wheel drive Astra van for a long time. She goes, that shit's creepy as fuck. You've got a beard. You don't need to be riding around in a white van. I'm like, right. Hey, it's good on gas.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
What was funny was earlier, Mike, you and I were talking about the wives and kind of moving forward in the racing scene. And Stephen, like you were saying, what's considered cool and not cool. And my wife is Eastern European, and it's kind of like, when we got married, it was like, okay, you have your car. And I was like, yeah, but I'm kind of into racing. And she's like, so you have a car that's for nothing other than going to the racetrack, and you spend a lot of money on it and everything else. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Stupid American.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's really kind of funny too, because it's almost come around full circle. Like, she's not into it, but she's accepted it for me.
Yeah.
But now my brother-in-law, her brother is usually my pit guy, at least for the last.
See the guy that was with you on sick week?
Thomas. Yeah, Thomas. So hopefully he'll come with me for drag week this year. But he's been the one that's kind of come along with me, and we've hung out. And it was funny because this year the theme was, we were trying to figure out, because our theme for drag week in 2020 was Mexican food. So we went and got Mexican food at every location. With Mark and the rest of the guys from Orlando. So the theme spontaneously ended up this year through Mark was that it was Thomas's birthday everywhere we went. And it was every restaurant we went to and every hotel lobby. And it got to the point that by the end of the week, like, Thomas and I would walk into a hotel lobby and people are like, hey, Thomas, happy birthday, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, Duck Hunter says happy birthday, Thomas.
So was Thomas not a car guy before you all met either?
No, I mean he no.
I know he was a moonshine guy, but I didn't know if he was a car guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see what else. What do I got here? Yeah. So any other drag and drives? We know you're doing drag week, and then Stephen, what do you got going on?
My current plans. So I'm building the motor and the daily, the Escalade. I've got a 6.2 in it now, L92. I've had it for about 6 years now, and I've got 240,000 miles. So I'm actually building the motor in it. I'm doing Texas speed cam header, stuff like that. The sad thing is, my Escalade makes the same wheel horsepower as my fucking Caprice does, and after this, it'll probably make more power than my Caprice does. Probably be faster too, but right now I'm focusing on the Escalade to get it going, and I'm not really building it to be. Well, yeah, I'm building it to be fast, but it's my daily. But I need it to still be able to tow. I'm going to get that done. Once I get that done, I'm going to go back to the Caprice. I'm probably going to rebuild the Caprice rear end in the next week or two because I'm selling my wife's car and I need a good daily, and I don't feel like riding the bike every day. So I'm going to fix the rear end of the Caprice, and I think my next event, I want to do another drag week, but I think that's going to be on hold for a little while. I think I'm going to throw the turbo on it and start getting into the back end no prep shit. Just because that's more my style, so to say. Like the drag and drive to me, like I've been doing drag and drive my whole life. So like when I say drag and drive my whole life, I mean like I've never had a truck, so I've always had a trailer hitch on my Caprice, and I've always pulled a trailer behind it. Like I used to go to Green Cove Dragway, our local 8 mile track, which is about 30 miles away or 30 minutes away, and I would hook my 5x10 trailer to the back with my golf cart in it, go to the track, have my golf cart in there to ride around and then race and then go home. So like when I first saw drag and drives on like a drag week and shit like that, it was back when like Lutz and fucking, the crybaby with the S10, whatever his name is. They were like going fast as shit. So I was like, that shit looks awesome. But they're all like in Yankee states and like Ohio and Michigan and all this really far stuff. And I mean, I'm just now learning how to adult like and pay bills and shit. Like I've paid property taxes for the first time today. So like I can't afford to take 2 weeks off to fucking
And
like
go somewhere.
Yeah, do that. So like I've been doing turkey rod run, which is in Florida. It's kind of like Pigeon Forge rod run, but like here, I'd say there's probably 10,000, maybe more cars that all go to Daytona International Speedway, and it's a car show.
Dave, don't call him out. Shit.
Yeah, that crybaby. But they do a big car show, and I set up a bunch of street races. So my go-to event every year is rod run, and every year I decide to take the car apart about a month before I'm supposed to go and decide to redo every fucking thing. And I've had everything from wheel studs breaking and starters going bad and valve train parts breaking. Like I always fix my shit and drive it home. And granted, that's a way smaller scale, but 2 years ago, I trailered it down there, I raced Lambos, I raced fucking bikes, I raced everything. Like I'm probably the only box Chevy on the internet that's ever raced a fucking all-wheel drive Huracan. But if you YouTube box Chevy versus Lambo, that's my car. Like I raced everybody, and like at the end of the week, I think in my GPS app said I had driven 560 miles, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm driving it home. It's only an hour." So I had my friend drive my truck and trailer home while I drove the car just to do it. So like the next thing, I want to go to Rocky Mountain or something like that, just because I hadn't really left past Tennessee. Anything past that to me was like Yankee shit that I don't want to deal with. So I want to go to one of those, but it's going to be one of the ones where I have to actually plan for it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the car ready for a drag and drive and then kind of have it on standby to where if, whatever it's called, enrollment or registration pops up, I take the chance and get it. If I get it, it's cool. Yeah. So especially now that I'm kind of meeting more people like in these Facebook groups like that do it, I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm stealing ideas, but like I'm seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, like I got the Harbor Freight trailer, a little 4x8, and I added walls to it, and I took totes from O'Reilly's and I had a little thing. It worked out pretty good. Like I had zero issues. And I actually, one thing I did that I didn't see anyone else do, and I saw a couple people say that they're going to do the same, is I've got a pin on hood and I put brackets on the side of the trailer with hood pins on it to where I just took the hood off the car, went to the trailer and put it on the trailer, and then put the hood pins through that, and it went on no problem. Because I saw a lot of people like ratchet strapping their hood and shit, and like there isn't fiberglass hoods for Caprices. Like I've got some prototype bullshit that fits like ass, but it's the only one there is, so I just take care of it. And like I didn't want to take a chance of ratchet strapping it and then the bitch flying off and then I having no hooded. So, but yeah, definitely I want to do that. But like I said earlier, I've done street racing, I've done dirt track events. Like I did I think it was an 8th mile dirt track thing. And it was like you didn't race all at the same time, but you did timed laps, and like it was an 18 car field, and I was winning that. So that was a fucking blast. That's when I realized like how much fun it is going sideways in that car. Cause the first lap, it took me a minute to figure it out, and I wound up putting in second and just holding on to the headrest and fucking sliding the bitch the whole way around. So like, only thing I haven't done yet with it is autocross and an actual drift event, which I probably won't do a drift event, but I wouldn't mind doing an autocross just that way I can say I've done every type of racing there is in this car. Because I mean, the Freedom Factor events, man, like, I mean, now a lot of people had never probably been to Florida and also never been to the Freedom Factor. You don't realize how banked those corners really are until you're going fucking 80 miles an hour in a 4-door grandmother car that is not meant to go 80 miles an hour around that bitch. So it's fun.
That's funny.
So,
Steve, what's your plan for Drag Week? What do you got other than a whole new rear end? What else are you going to do to the car?
Really the rear end, and then trying to get the suspension sorted. I think I've posted some pictures on my Facebook page of the car launching at Gainesville, which I think is where a significant amount of the carnage happened. The car picks up the left front really well. And in the picture, one of the pictures that I posted, the left front's off the ground, the right front's an inch or two off the ground, and it unloaded the left rear tire to the point that it wadded up the right rear, the passenger side. And I think that's where a lot of the damage came from. So I want to try and get the car squared up, work on a torsion bar to try and hold the rear end square. So it's really all in suspension and rear end. I ran an 11.22 was my best pass. My goal for this car as a stick shift is to get it into the tens. So if I can get the car into the tens, I think, I can get 210s with some suspension work, cleaning it up.
Yep.
I might drop a gear in the rear end just to try and make it, a little easier to run. But what was nice was drag week sick week. The car ran so well after day one that I was so excited every pass I made that I was short shifting the shit out of the car.
Damn.
So I was shifting at like 5,800 RPM, and I can roll this thing out to like 75 easily. My rev limit is at 78. So hopefully I can get the car, into the tens, maybe high mids.
That'd be awesome.
That's my goal. That's my goal for drag week, is to get the car and get it into the tens finally.
Yeah, we were talking earlier in text, and I would love to do drag week. I'd love to just go, to ride along with folks and stuff like that. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to keep working on it, because we're going to go to 2.0. And so, it ends, and then there's a week, and then it's drag week. So
I don't know how people do that back-to-back shit. Like, I just started watching drag and drive YouTube coverage. I don't know if it just got so much bigger on YouTube this year, or I just was paying attention to it more. But watching all the people that went to 2.0 and then the next, whatever the one was directly after it, I'm like, dude, how and especially now, after doing it for a week, and it's not like I had to rebuild the engine on the side of the road or anything, but just 1,500 miles in a fucking hoopty is not easy.
That's right. And imagine it being fast. You know what I mean? You're hearing everything. You're worried if anything's going to break. You're on the ragged edge of tuning that thing. Yeah,
dude, I wound up next to Joe Barry quite a few times. Actually, we were going through Daytona when it was raining like hell, and Joe Barry was next to me. And I've got a 55, similar color as well. Not its original motor. My grandpa bought it brand new and everything. But I'm looking at this thing next to me, and I'm like, how in the hell is he? Obviously, I've seen 6 seconds and all that stuff on the Facebook, and you don't really, until you see him in person, you don't realize how much of a task that is. I'm right next to him, and I'm like, that's a big ass tire. That's a whole lot to fucking deal with. And then I'm closing my cutout so I can hear it. His shit sounds like mine does with the cutouts, but with his just cruising. And then I was also, when we were literally going under the Daytona walkover thing, and it's raining like hell, I launched. First gear is non-existent. Second gear, I went into it. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to see how far I can get these tires spin. I clicked it all the way into fourth. I guarantee you there was 150 mile an hour wheel speeds. And I'm driving sideways. The trailer is crooked behind me. And Joe Barry's wife is just looking at me what the fuck is, and they're probably stay away from me, you idiot. I'm I got this. I'm I've been doing this shit for years.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Fine.
Yeah. But just seeing that caliber of car, I'm thinking to myself, they're doing everything. Me doing it in my car is no big deal. It's a daily driver type car. But seeing those types of people do that shit, it's wild. You don't comprehend it until you see it firsthand. And I mean, granted, we're Florida, so we do stupid shit on the streets all the time. You see alligators driving motorcycles down the road. But just seeing all the locals, you normally see an El Camino or a fucking yeeted up truck go by or something, but seeing all of Florida's reaction to these bad motherfuckers cruising down the road, it's definitely cool.
With trailers behind them and mud tires on the back. Yeah.
Well, because 90% of the route we took, I've been on my motorcycle already, riding all over Florida. So I'm seeing people that I know, and they're like, dude, I thought you were fucking crazy with your trailer. I was like, these motherfuckers are out of their mind. That third gen, the Uncle Sam or whatever the hell it is. I wound up at a gas station with it late as fuck, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, hell no. Ain't no way in hell I'd ride in that motherfucker that far. And that bitch is fast.
Yeah, and those dudes are crazy. I mean, he ran 7.0 average all week.
That's wild. Yeah. And then I just started, I started watching their YouTube channel. They had a hell of a day, the first day and one and day two. I hadn't been on a drag strip for one, because I street race. I passed tech on the street. I didn't pass tech at the track. And I spent so much time and money trying to pass tech just for them motherfuckers to, all right, you're good. I'm like, you better go look at shit. Like, I did not spend all these fucking nights putting a battery cut off in my car for you to not go hit that button. I'm like, crank it up, hit the fucking button. He goes,
Yeah.
I'm not touching your fucking button. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah,
That's
like,
the way it works, man.
I mean,
they don't
cool.
care about us slow guys. They want to know about the fast guys.
Yeah, well, that's like Steve. Like, so, and I don't know who's watching this, and I don't really care. But like, I have a nice Simpson motorcycle helmet. It's a modular, opens and closes. I paid $600 for this motherfucker. Then I come to find out that not all helmets are the same. You got to have some blah 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 helmet. I'm like, ain't no way in hell I'm spending another $500 on a fucking helmet to run 12s. I'm like, not happening. So I texted Steve, like, actually the day one when I got there, he's coming out of Bradenton as I'm pulling in, and I had no plan at this point. And I'm like, yo, let me borrow your helmet. This motherfucker handed me his helmet on the way in so that I could pass tech, and then we go through tech. They didn't even want to see my helmet. I'm like,
they didn't even look at it. Yeah, that's what Justin did too. Justin ordered a helmet, made sure it was in date and all that kind of stuff. They didn't even look at it. They walked past his car and they're like, "What are you going to run?" He's like, "Probably 14s or 15s." They're like, "Okay, what tire?" Boom, put it on the window. See ya.
Yeah, I mean, which is cool. I'm glad they didn't do it. And I mean, I know a lot of people were bitching about like tech day and how long it took, which don't get me wrong, it did suck. But at the same time, like, it was kind of one of those things, I guess me being a manager of a store and trying different shit, like, I know how day one and year one events and products and stuff like that goes. So like, I wasn't mad. And two, it was, especially for first timers like me, like, we're looking in the line and we're getting to see this crazy shit. Cause like we were in line on the, like, going the same direction you would race on tech. And I'm thinking that the end of tech is at the end of the track. Then one day I just happened to look over and I'm like, oh, fuck, the 10 is over there. Like, we still got to go all the way around. So, like, I think we wound up being in the tech line for 5 hours. But, like, at the same time, I was like, what else do you have to do?
We were there at least 6 or 7. It was crazy the amount of time. But what was cool, and just like you said, like, I mean, we were right in behind God dang, Stephan Gustafson with the C4 car. I mean, we're like 2 cars behind him. Like, the orange and white C10 truck was behind us. The black diesel,
diesel one
truck. Yeah, I'm like,
he was right next to us too. And that was what was neat too. Is like, and not to be like a fanboy, but like being in Florida, like, you only see the Florida cars around town. Like, we've got FL2K, but like, I was next to that orange diesel truck. I'm like, man, I just watched a video on that fucking thing. He's the one that does 100-mile-an-hour rollers. Like, that thing's badass. And it's neat, like, seeing different cars that you see all the time. Like, I'm big in the street racing thing, so I see the street race cars all the time. Like, I'm in the skinnies camp and everything, so I'm used to like Black Bitch and fucking Casey Max and those types of cars. But like, those cars are badass, but at the same time, they're a different kind of badass. Like, seeing them in person, it's wild, because it makes you wonder, like, for one, what direction do you want to go with your car? And two, it's like, you watch, Radio versus the World or any of these other races, or like, maybe not Radio versus the World because they're actually fast as shit, but like some of these events where they're running 6s in these concrete block, big fucking tire, and then it's like they put it on the trailer and they're stacker. And I'm like, motherfucker, Joe Barry's doing that shit and he's driving his ass down Daytona Beach. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not impressed anymore.
So I'll tell you this story. So my neighbor is a big Mopar guy. He's got a big block Mopar Dart. It's a cool car, runs 10 O's, all this kind of stuff, right? So we put on our drag and drive event, and I'm out front talking to him and another neighbor who has a Pro Street Camaro, big block, cool car, drives it all the time, all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm like, you guys should come, bring the cool cars. Let's go. Let's have fun. You drive them to Cars and Coffee. You never take them to the track. Bring them up there. We'll make 300-mile loop. They're like, my neighbor's like, I can't do that. I can't take that car. Like 55 miles an hour is all it'll go on the street, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you're a pussy. Like, oh my God.
You have no idea what people are doing with these motherfuckers.
Yeah. I was like, 10 O's is slow. When like, there's 2 classes ahead of you at 6 week, and 100 people.
Well, what's cool too is, like, I mean, I've always watched drag and drive events on the internet, but like, I only knew one person before meeting fucking Grandfather Steve that does drag and drives, and that was my friend Chad Spicer. He's got the Blue Dakota, the badass one, and so he's from Jacksonville, and he's taught me a lot. I mean, he's been street racing for years, and he's taught me a bunch about just automotive in general and what to do, what not to do, just like old like tricks and shit. Well, I think he did 2018 and he didn't finish, and then he tried to do this last year Hot Rod Drag Week and he didn't finish either. So like, when Sick Week came, like, this was him. Like, he was our local fucking
he was the dude.
Yeah, he was our local drag week guy, and we've got grudge racers in town that are running like 430s and shit. That make fun of him all the time. They're like, "Oh, why don't you hook your fucking trailer to it and go do this?" And like, I mean, granted, he hasn't got the car dialed in yet, but that thing's easily going to be a 7-second truck, like for sure.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, he still drives his 7-second truck all around town. I think he only did like his best time was an 840 or 830, but that was him leaving on motor and waiting to the 60 foot and then hitting that bitch with 300 shots. So like it roads the fuck out. And it's another one of those things. Like I've seen that truck for years and I never seen it pulling a trailer. He had the redneck Airbnb trailer is what it said on the back of it, which was pretty fucking cool too.
Yeah,
so
that was awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely cool because, like, now I've got, like, multiple people in Jacksonville messaging me, like, hey, man, what is this? What the fuck is Sick Week? And what is Drag Week? And what is Drag and Drive? And I'm like, it's fucking awesome. Like, you got to do it. Like, I've got a local friend who's building now. He's building a parts list and pricing. He's building a 9C1 Caprice, like the PPV one, to do Drag or Sick Week with next year. So, like, he's like, wait, so you don't have to have a fire suit if you're all motor? I'm like, yeah. He goes, my fat ass ain't I'm staying all motor then. Because, like, that's another thing. I was looking at everybody in these fire suits sweating their ass off. I'm like, man, it's pretty fucking hot in Florida. And I know it's hot at Rocky Mountain. I was like, maybe I will stay all motor just so I don't have to wear a fire suit.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's pretty wild. Once you get into this, it's hard to get out of it. And I apologize if I'm breaking up on my end. I just got an alert that the internet service is low. Speed is low right now. So it's pretty crazy to think that there's guys in this camp that, you know, you have guys, people that are running 13s are in competition. Like they're trying to go as fast as they can. 13s.
Yeah. I mean, I think what was the C-class winner? I think he ran like an 11:21 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that, I think. But
his spread across the week was 11:21.5, 11:21.4, 11:21.3. I'm like, yeah, I can't fuck with that. Like day one, so it was my first day on a track in years because I just street race and I have the draggy, and that's when I came to find out that my tune was not what I thought it was, and I went, I think I went a 12.7, or no, I went 12.8, and then I went 13.1 on testing, and then day one of racing, I only got to make one pass, and it was a 13.007 or something. I thought, and this was, again, my first year, I thought you dial in at what you tell them to, and as closest you can run to that is it. So I tell them I want to dial in at X. They're like, no, you got to dial in at what you just turned in. I'm like, oh, that's fucking lame. Like, all right, whatever, fuck it. We're just going to finish then. So I turn in I make another hit, or I make one hit at the track, and then I go out to the street, start playing with a tune. I make like 15 hits on the street, like, because that's where I know. Like, I brought my skinnies with me. I'm fucking doing burnouts and testing. I got it down to a 1270 on the street, and I'm like, but his tune got like 15 miles a gallon. So maybe I'll leave his tune in it. So I'm like, I'm not going to win class anyway. So I did that. I said, screw it. And then we went to Orlando just to take our picture. Obviously didn't race there. And then we went to Gainesville, broke on my first pass in Gainesville, but I turned in the slip. Well, we get to fucking Valdosta and I'm like, all right, I don't want to break the rear end because I got to make it. So I'm going to roll into it and then stab it. Get this bullshit. So I dialed in a 13.0. I ran a 14.0 in Gainesville because it broke. I roll into it at the 60 foot and then stab it. This bitch runs a 12.7. I'm like, how the fuck do I go faster broken rolling into it than I did the whole time? I'm like, all right, apparently I don't know what I'm doing. So then we turn that slip in. We go to fucking Bradenton. I do the same thing. Roll into it and go. I run a 12.9 again. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, because if I were, my problem with the tune was like I was foot braking it, stalling it up, and then I'd go to launch, but it would bog and then come back alive because it was running lean. So I'm like, fuck it, whatever. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to win the competition at this point. I just want to finish and do hood rat shit. So I was having more fun doing trailer burnouts and stuff than I was, racing anyway. So,
well, I'm a dumbass. I thought we couldn't. So we turned in a 14.6. Well, then Gainesville, we run like a 13.3. Well, I'm like, well, shit, we can't turn in anything faster than a 14.6.
That's what I thought too. Yeah,
we'll be disqualified. I'm like, shit. So, dude, we waited like 4 hours to run again. And then we're talking to Red Hat Scotty, and he's like, "Oh no, dude,
I just can't run a 10."
Yeah, he's like, you can. It's the gap. It doesn't matter. It's you know, what lowest to highest. I'm like, son of a bitch. So we were in the lanes waiting for a second pass, and we just whipped out. We were like, fuck it.
Knowing that and ahead of time, I would have saved so much stress too. Like, because that's I was freaking out. Because I mean, again, this is my first year. I didn't know. All I knew was what I read in the Sick Week group. Because like I'm in the Rocky Mountain group or whatever, but. Most of the people in the Rocky Mountain group are, couple seniors in it. Like they've done a few. So like, they're not really talking about the bare bones basics. And granted, yes, the rules are out there, but it's like, most of the rules were piggybacked off drag week. So you got to go to that and then read it. And then they didn't actually post the legit rules until, 2 weeks out. And
Yep.
I was so worried about passing tech more than anything, because that's why I put a floor pan in my car the 2 weeks before, because I destroyed the floor pan with a drive shaft issue like 4 years ago. But again, I passed tech on the street, so I didn't care about it. But I didn't want to get all the way to Bradenton just for them to say, oh, your floor pan's a piece of shit, you can't race here.
Yep.
Now I know I could have probably been fine, but at the same time, it's like, I got to fix it anyway. Here's a reason. So.
Oh yeah, night before we're drilling a hole in the back of Justin's car to put a cutoff switch in because he put the battery in the back. I mean, like,
yeah. Oh,
they didn't touch it.
That was another one of my biggest fiascos. Was putting the battery in the back. I did that. Well, then I'm hitting the power on and off when the car is off. I'm like, oh yeah, it kills power. We're good. And then one of my dickhead friends came up to me in traffic and tried to hit it while I was fucking driving. I'm like, why didn't it turn off? I'm like, oh,
yep.
I have an alternator. So now I'm spending all this time and money trying to figure out how do I make it shut off but still keep an alternator. I eventually figured it out with many wiring, because I'm no ASC cert, like I'm no master tech, like I'm just I'm a hillbilly that I break shit.
Hey, that's what I did. 2020
alternator for tech.
Yeah. 2020 2.0. I just unplugged the alternator. Well, I pull up and the car still had full exhaust. It's a 03 Grand Marquis. Pull up, dude hits it, doesn't turn off. I was like, I don't understand. He's like, oh, it's probably wiring in your alternator. Wink. And I'm like, okay. So I go and just unplug the alternator, pull back through. He's like, yep, good to go. Bye.
Yeah. Well, that was my plan. So before I figured it out, I had a jumper wire for the alternator to disconnect if I had to where when I went through tech, they're in it. Like I had a whole shitload of ways I was gonna pass tech no matter what. And then, we're gonna switch it up a little bit, but it is what it
you're
is.
killing me. This is hilarious. Liquor pickle.
What the fuck?
They're talking about pickle moonshines and all kinds of stuff in the comments over here.
Oh, this motherfucker. So I don't drink. I've been straight edge for fucking 12 years now. And he's like, hey man, you like moonshine? I'm like, no, not at all. He's like, it's like almost like he's got a trench coat. He goes, check this out. And he's got all these fucking flavors and shit. I'm like,
yep. Yeah. I wasn't gonna, I was gonna put a little bit of effort into drag week, but I think now that I know you're making liquor pickles for drag week, I may have to put a harder effort into it, because it starts in Memphis and goes north to St. Louis, right? Isn't that the route for drag week?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
so Memphis
over to Illinois and then down to Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm not worried about those because I can't make all that. So but I think I'm going to try and do, if I can get the time off from work and the approval from the wife, I think I'll try and do day 1 and 2, come over to Memphis, because it's like 5 hours to Memphis. It's 5 hours to St. Louis from here.
What are the dates?
It's September 19th, September 18th through the 24th or something like that.
Somebody will tell us. I don't know. It's too far away right now.
Steve, you're already in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Registration was the 12th. Well, hang on. I can tell you exactly when it is because I've got all the shit.
And this is actual Hot Rod Drag Week?
Yeah.
So now they're the ones that say that if you just show up, you're sort of good.
Well, no, nobody officially will tell you that, but
so far, everybody that's been waiting in the wait list has made it in.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is even just sick week. I mean, they had 341 start the week,
Yeah.
Johnson Stone Cipher said Season said it was okay for me to go to drag week. So his wife said it was fine. That's cool. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
His wife is awesome.
What was the route you said? It was Memphis, then St. Louis, then what?
Somewhere in Illinois.
Illinois, and then down to Alabama or I don't know. I don't know. It's
too
far away.
Yeah,
I just register and then I build the car.
Yeah. Well, so it's September 18th through the 23rd. The cool thing about it is, unless somebody comes up with a major event after that, it's the last national, in air quotes, drag and drive of the year. So it's going to be pretty neat to see people turn it up. And I mean, Memphis is a major track. And then, of course, St. Louis is a major track. Those guys will really turn it up for this event. But 2.0 for Rocky Mountain is 2 weeks before that. It is September 4th through 9th. So there's going to be a ton of people do both of those.
Now I'm kind of got a wild hair up my ass. Like, do I want to just say fuck it and wing it and try and fix my car and put myself in more debt and do drag week, or do I be an adult?
Oh yeah, that's a totally responsible thing to do, and yes, you should
Dude,
do it.
Listen, here's what I've come to realize. Like, my dad passed away February of 20. Like, you're not going to live forever, bro. Like, after that, I was like, fuck it, we're going for it. It's
but like,
happen.
I'm also like 20 years younger than that, Steve. So I've got some time to go faster.
Yeah, right. Like, dude, I mean, listen, I've had, I owned a business. I lost the business, lost a house, all that kind of cool stuff. Now we're back to normal. It's fine,
Yeah,
it's the way it works. So, man.
Is there
got time to fuck it all up?
Exactly. Yeah, I've got time to fuck it up and fix it. I remember seeing some posts. Is there any bike classes on any drag weeks?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Because I've contemplated.
I don't think so.
Taking the bike. I mean, not like essentially doing like sick ward, but unofficial on the bike, just to do drag week, just to kind of get a feel for it too. So,
man, fuck that. I'm out. That does not sound like any fun to me. Like, what kind of bike?
Well, remember, I just rode my motorcycle 4,000 miles to Los Angeles.
Dude, I get it. I mean, hey, I love the cross country stuff. I just can't imagine doing that on a motorcycle. What kind of motorcycle?
No, I don't. The only thing that I kind of think is that I almost kind of wish my car was broken one year where I could ride along with somebody. Josh Smith ended up doing that with Matt and the Turtle this year. And I really want to do the ride along just because the stress isn't there. I don't mind.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't mind wrenching. I don't mind riding. I don't mind going like, hey man, I think you got a lifter tick, or sounds like
sucks for you.
But that's his problem. I don't mind wrenching on it. That's your problem.
Dude, my passenger fucking was like eating snacks the whole fucking time. Like granted, he helped me with the tires, but that motherfucker slept some of the trip. Like, there's a picture of him in the pits with a fucking. He bought one of the big old sombreros, and he's got a fucking Mexican blanket just passed the fuck out. I'm like, you bastard.
Dude, hey, Copilot was amazing.
Oh yeah, it looked amazing. He didn't drive a single fucking mile.
Dude, I didn't either. I really thought we would end up going back to the car, and I would just get in the driver's seat or something and drive, but I never did, not one time. Justin just cruised, man. It was great.
You were in Taco Time, right?
No, I was in the green and black Model A.
Okay, yeah.
I know the green and black, yep. So I rode down to Florida with Taco Time.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Taco Time had that badass air ride trailer too.
Yeah, dude, that trailer has trailer brakes.
It looks heavy as shit.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is, but it is set up for trailer burnouts, like adjustable trailer brakes and shit like that. So he could. Oh man.
See, I saw people talking about like adding that and add trailer brakes for trailer burnouts, but I don't know. It didn't seem like it was necessary. Like, if anything, I guess like tongue weight would cause it to not spin as well. But I feel like the trailer made fucking burnouts way sweeter. Like, because that thing was zigzagging behind me, and like there was a couple times I about took out at some pedestrians with the trailer, but it's like you can't see my tag anyway. Like, but come to find out, you could see my fucking tag on the toll booths. I thought I had my fucking thing blocked, so I'm just running the piss out of it. I'm like, fuck you. And then I got a thing in the mail. It was only $10, but still, I'm like, motherfucker.
Dang it. Yeah. Jonathan Stonecipher, these are the words I live by. You should always go, we're not promised tomorrow. And when you get old, are you going to talk about stuff you almost did?
Yeah, that's true.
That's right, man. I'm telling you. I'm getting to that age where I'm like, man, listen, there's probably less time after now than there was before. I got to start figuring this stuff out.
Yeah. Well, see, my biggest thing is I run a retail fucking parts store. So, like, hiring people right now sucks. Like, I took the 2 weeks off from my California trip on the motorcycle, never been gone from my store for more than 8 days at a time. And then I come back and I got home on a Sunday and I had COVID by Wednesday. And then I had 105 fever for like 10 days. I got pneumonia. I was in the hospital. So, like, I took 2 weeks off, came back for 3 days, and then took another fucking 3 weeks off and almost died. Like, I'm like, well, fuck it. Like, I've been here 10 years. They're gonna have to give me some time off.
Darce, shit. I guess I'll be getting some toll bills soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the cool thing is, like in Florida though,
day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, the cool thing about Florida is like if you when they send you the bill, they half the price. Because like I did a Key West trip on my bike not too long ago. I did like 1,500 miles in 3 days, and I ran every fucking toll. And then they sent me like a bill for like $60. We're like, but if you get our Easy Pass, it's only $12. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do that then.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yep.
All right. 10 more minutes, and I got to get out here and start wrenching on the old truck. What haven't we covered yet that we need to cover?
Why Steve didn't do any burnouts?
On the street?
Yeah.
Are we talking about like in comparison to your burnouts?
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Well, you know what sucks? Like, I don't know if they were gonna. I mean, I don't remember what the whole rule was about the trailer burnout checkpoint, but like, that was my whole goal for the week. Like, I literally prepared for strictly a trailer burnout, which reminds me, I left my tires at KSR because I blew the bitches off there. Like, I need to go back to Gainesville and pick up my wheels and tires. Say what?
I said they were shredded.
Oh, they were fucked. Yeah. Well, and
That's
so
awesome.
What's cool is like I did when we pulled up, I kind of like, because I heard Roadkill was going to be there, and that was my goal. Like, I was like, I'm going to get on fucking Roadkill doing a burnout. And like, I heard Roadkill was going to be there. So like, I creeped in. They're like, do a burnout, pussy. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So we did a burnout in. It was all right, but there was a car in front of me, and I was trying not to hit. And then we turned around and turned back in. And I probably had it on. I was at least on the fucking tires for a minute and a half. And then finally that bitch, it had like 45 PSI in it. That motherfucker exploded like a grenade. It just went boom. I'm like, all right, we got it. And like when we got back to the car, the trailer was so covered in fucking like rubber. It looked like the trailer did a burnout.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. So, I mean, I was proud of that. Like I'm not saying there was a title, but I would like to think that I didn't have like the most powerful burnout, but I damn sure had the most smoke and the most distance and the most explosion. So
that's cool. Steve, what have we not covered that you want to talk about? Should we talk about liquor pickles?
I do like bringing my moonshine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year I built the trailer specifically to house the cooler in the back, and we had a significant amount of moonshine that we brought with us, and had a good time at the hotels each night. And then, like Terry said, we had the first night in the parking lot at the hotel. Like we all went in and teched in, and then come back. There was some lady walking around from somewhere up north, and she had like peppermint moonshine and banana moonshine. And I was like, all right, hold on, check this shit out. I opened up my cooler. And we
opened up your trench coat.
And stuff. And then these two ladies like come through, like another couple, like, and they're like, oh yeah, we've got all these shots and syringes. And one of the other guys that we were with from Orlando, like, goes through with like just a handful of them, and he's sticking them in everybody's mouth and just like slamming them back. So yeah, day one was definitely interesting, man.
You're taking your car to the hot rod drag, what you said?
Oh yeah.
Are you taking your bed frame trailer with you, or are you going to build a new one?
I don't know. It's actually it's kind of funny. I would like to do an enclosed trailer. And my neighbor just hit me up because he's trying to build a trailer for his canoe for doing some camping and shit like that. And he wants an open trailer. So I told him, I said, you can find me an enclosed trailer. I'll build this open trailer however you want it. So
that's cool.
We'll see what happens one way or another.
The way I did mine, I did the 4x8 open with like, I think the walls were maybe 18 inches tall, but I put buttons all the way around it and built a tonning cover for it. It actually worked out fucking sweet. Like it was super convenient because I was originally wanted a enclosed, and I was watching the guys that had them. Unless they had like the really sick one that opened up the top and the side and everything, like it looked like a pain in the ass. Like I definitely feel like the way I did it with the tonning cover was way more convenient for fucking just getting in and out of it. So worst case scenario, if you don't spend any money on a trailer or whatever, you can just fucking take my sick week trailer with you and use it.
Well, the nice thing is with the open trailer, the only thing that I would do different with this one is actually mount my my radials up front somewhere instead of on top of the trailer to make it, because I've got my ghetto cage on top to keep everything secure. Would be to make it a little bit easier to get in there.
Yeah, that was that was the downside to the burnout tires, was they were on top of the tonning cover, so we had to keep taking them on and off. So like I was gonna save the burnout tires for like a big finale, but I'm like, fuck these things, they gotta go. So I blew them off. I'm like, hey Kev, can I come pick these up later? He goes, yeah, man, no fucking problem.
He's like, sure, no problem. Put them on the side of the building. They're still in that same spot.
Yeah. The other guy with the mullet, I forgot what his name is. he's like, those look familiar. I'm like, yeah, I'll be back to get those.
Yeah, so at some point, yeah, Tyler and Aaron ran the tires back, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I'll come get them week or two, something like that. We've been back for a month now, and I hadn't been over there yet, but I got to go get them because I need them for the truck. I got to put a beat down on Jonathan Stonecipher in the crew cab Malibu with the big block. So we'll see. So all right, y'all. About 5 more minutes. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's been in here watching us and having the conversations. I will say there's some really cool stuff coming with the Quick 16. It opens up a ton of time for me to talk to people because it's not like it's hard to get an hour and a half together and then put not necessarily like you guys. I knew we could have conversations without a whole lot of direction, obviously. So but other folks, a lot of times I got to kind of lead us through all the stuff, and it's a little harder. So there's a lot of time that goes into these big, long format type podcasts or live streams. And I'm going to get away from some of that and do more often with people. So I'm excited about that. And just the daily dose is coming almost every day from now on, because we're getting into the meat of it, man. People are tearing their cars apart. They're getting parts in and stuff like that. We're 23 days from our drag and drive. There's another drag and drive in the southeast part of the country, Georgia area, that's coming maybe the middle of April. I was hoping we could get an update tonight on it while we were here live. But if that happens, it's like a 4-day event. So it could be kind of fun. And then Carolina Drag Cruises in May. And then we go right into Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0 or Midwest Drags early June 1.0. Second part of June, then literally nothing for July and August.
That's crazy.
No drag and drives anywhere.
Before doing Sick Week, I had only heard of Drag Week, and then I had only heard of Rocky Mountain, and now it's like they're fucking, I guess because I'm in Facebook groups, like it's wild how many there are. My thing is, it's like I've got motorcycle, jet ski, I've got multiple hobbies, so I don't get burnt out on it, but like you could literally drag and drive year round, full time. Like,
oh yeah.
I wonder how many people are looking at fucking houses in Florida now that have never been and then came down to Florida. Like, because I mean, it was crazy how many people had never been to Florida. Like, I'm from Atlanta, but I've been in Florida since 2003. So like, it's just home to me now. But like, people in Florida or Jacksonville, at least, they hate Jacksonville. They think it sucks. I'm like, you have no idea how good we have it. The only people that hate Florida have never left Florida. They don't know how much the rest of the fucking country sucks. Like, I could not imagine sitting in my fucking house with it snowing outside, not being able to do shit. Like
for 3 months, or 5 months, like these people up north.
We've got those big alligators and stuff, and they eat people.
And mosquitoes. I mean, I think there's mosquitoes like this in Florida.
The hurricanes here are terrible too. Like they rip fucking tunes out of their car. Like they're that bad.
Yeah, they will kill your children.
Stay away.
Yeah, only drag and drive people can move to Florida.
Yeah. Well, and I met a couple. I called everybody that was north of Tennessee Canadians, but I met some whatever the cheesehead people are. Them guys. They had an orange notchback. They were super cool too. And it was funny, like, because like I'm used to hillbillies and I'm used to hood rats, but like I'm listening to all these motherfuckers that talk like weird as shit. I'm like, bro, where the hell are you from? Like, what is that? Like. And then, like, talking to the Swedes, I'm like, listening to him, I'm just staring at him. I'm like, I gotta quit looking at this little motherfucker. Like, I don't understand what the fuck he's saying right now.
And
they're probably gonna be like, who's this fat hillbilly staring at me over here like a fucking caveman? I'm like, I'm just amazed.
No, I'm sure they're used to it when they come over here. Yeah, Nico says first snow in Colorado was in October, and it's gonna snow tonight, dude. I don't know how people live there.
No, I was in Durango. We were riding in Durango, Colorado on the motorcycle trip. And like that morning, it was 60 degrees in fucking Utah or wherever the fuck we were. And then it was like 110 degrees in fucking Needles, California. And we get up to like 9,000 elevation and the bikes will barely make it up the fucking hill. I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I want my flat ass Florida back. This is terrible.
That's awesome. All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to shut it down. You guys want to tell them where they can find you again on social, and then we're going to shut down. I'm going to go to work on the old truck.
Yeah, mine's just SSD.
I'm Stephan Mask on Facebook. So, like I said, most everybody's already found me. That's important.
Yeah, he's at every old folks home every Friday night doing karaoke.
I'm on the AARP fan page.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm the hood rat on Facebook, SS Steve 904. I'm usually doing dumb shit that's illegal. So this NHRA sanctioned stuff's really weird that you're allowed to race and stuff. I'm not used to that shit.
Nice. All right. Well, cool. Well, I have I'm trying to get Jason Schaefer and all the hot rod dudes on next week because they're all doing 1.0. And I definitely want to talk to them. And I rode in the chicken coop with Jason, which is the blown big block. I think you were talking about earlier. That car is insanity. And I got to get back to Florida and get a ride in that dude's car. He's up in the Panhandle. So, I think there's definitely some cruising you guys could all do together.
Yeah, I think honestly, dude, next year's Sick Week, like I think a lot of people, obviously the seniors of Drag and Drive were all coming because they knew it was going to be sweet. But like, there's so many fast cars in Florida that had no idea this shit was going on that I think next year is going to be probably even bigger. So.
Yeah, well, it won't be any bigger. They got to cap the number of cars, so that's where it's hard. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate that. Saying great job tonight. Yeah, that's the struggle. So it only gets harder and harder and harder and harder for people to get in. So it'll be interesting, because he said only the fastest 100 will get early invites next year, and Joe Clark holds the number 100 spot at a 10-1. So it'll be interesting to see.
I heard other dudes were bribing them with alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's I'm sure there's going to be some of that goes on for sure.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully we'll be invited back. He may be telling me to fuck off by then. I don't know. We'll see. So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
You give him the liquor pickle.
Yeah.
Look, we need shirts. Who can make shirts? I want a liquor pickle shirt.
Mark Manor and I were talking about a couple different shirt sets that we were going to make. We were going to do one on a tuning series, and I think Liquor Pickle is going to have to be another one.
Yeah, pickle dangler. That's right. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to end it, guys. You guys stay with me. I got some stuff to talk about with you, and then everybody else. Bye later. We'll see you probably in the morning, 7:50 Central for about 10 minutes.